Just fucking whatever. Okay. Alright. So, like, fucking. I drink this whole thing with a lot of this stuff. And it's good. It's so good. And, like, so fucking much. I spilled my drink all over the shit. I'm so drunk, and I'm gay, and that's important. That's important for you to understand that I am gay. Um, but importantly, Metal Gear Solid is video games. Like, all of video... Metal Gear... Okay. Alright, so I've wanted to get drunk and say Metal Gear's, like, explain, like, the... all of it. All the... Kojima's fucking train wreck of a fucking, like, beautiful train wreck. Like a train that I would pay money to be on while it wrecks.
And have paid money to be on while it wrecks.
I have paid money to be on that train. And it was amazing. I didn't even mind the broken legs. So, this has still got booze in it, by the way. I can still get more drunk. So, okay, so, the story of Metal Gear Solid, alright. So, like, in, like, the fucking beginning of the 20th century, there's some fucks from, like, America and China and the Soviet Union, and they get together and they're like, hey, why don't we rule the world? And so they get a bunch of money together, and they're called, like, the philosophers or whatever, like, they're a bunch of nerds. And so they're like, alright, let's rule the world. Here's a bunch of money. Let's rule the world. I don't know what happened to them. All I know is they left a bunch of money. Oh, and then Metal Gear Solid 3 happens. So Metal Gear Solid 3, there's like this girl called the Boss. She used to be called the Joy, because she's like the joy of combat or whatever. She's like, woo, I like to kill people because she's crazy. And her husband's called the Sorrow because no one in Metal Gear Solid has names. If you are in Metal Gear Solid, you are named after an emotion, a concept, like a metaphysical concept, or an animal. Those are your three options. If you have a real name, you are going to die.
Hal Emmerich?
If you have a real name, you are going to die. Hal Emmerich is not his real name. His real name is Otacon. It stands for Otaku Convention, and he said that 2 minutes after he pissed his pants. And then they raised a child! I'm gay! Okay, so, the boss, or whatever, she's, like, super big. Like, woo! She's like super big in the imperialism scene. She's a super good soldier or whatever. And the U.S. Army is like, okay, so the Soviet Union, there's like an uprising, potential coup or whatever. We want to make sure that doesn't happen. So we're going to plant you in with the coup dude. You're going to get in good with him. And you're going to keep tabs on him and make sure he doesn't do the coup, so that we can make sure that our interests in the Soviet Union are upheld and, like, the Cold War doesn't, like, blow up. So she says, sounds good. And to get, like, trustworthy with him, she gives him a fucking handheld nuclear missile launcher, like, that was given to her by the military. Like, that was like, oh yeah, this will get in good with him. He'll never use it because he's not crazy, right? I don't know. Maybe the people had never played Metal Gear and they didn't know it was coming. But, so they give...
I think we can add to your named by after an animal thing that if you are, you're crazy.
So, she gives him the thing. There's a tutorial mission in Metal Gear Solid 3. You find out that the boss has defected. It's part of a mission. But then he uses the nuclear missile launcher, and he doesn't use it on an enemy of the Soviet Union. He uses it on Soviet Union soil, which implicates America as, like, responsible for it because they supplied the nuke. So, now, in the game, you're not supposed to know this, but the boss had always been instructed to defect. And so at this point, they realized they're in a hole. This could make the Cold War blow up, so the boss has to be held responsible for this, and she has to be killed. So you get sent out, you're playing as this guy named Naked Snake, you go, you do a bunch of things, you kill a bunch of bosses. There's a guy who controls bees. Like, he controls bees, and he makes bee guns, and then he shoots you with the bee guns, and bees come out of his mouth and hit you, and then you have to enter the pause menu and, like, tear the bees out with a knife. It's fucking great. And then there's a guy...
a bee grenade?
He just does stuff with bees.
I know he does bee armor that you have to blow up with a grenade.
There's a guy who's like, he's super old, he's called The End, and he can talk to the spirits of the forest, and he can photosynthesize, and he doesn't have to breathe, which makes him a really good sniper, because he can, like, hold his gun slowly. Again, he can talk to the forest spirits.
I'm pretty sure he's actually secretly an Ent.
He's, like, super weird. You can save the game in the middle of the boss fight and come back a week later and he'll have died of old age. It's great. So the point is, you kill all of them, or you non-lethally kill all of them. It doesn't matter, because they all blow up at the end. Like, explode. Like, I don't know, they have micro bombs or whatever inside them. I think I read that somewhere on the wiki. The game's a mess. But the point is, I need more booze. Hold up. I'm starting to get too sober for this. I spilled it all over my fucking...
What was that about too sober?
Okay, so the point is, you kill all of these fuckers, and you make your way to the boss, and you kill her, but before you kill her, she gives a big long speech about a bunch of bullshit. Like, a whole bunch of bullshit. She basically reveals that, oh, guess what? No, that comes later. Anyway, you kill her, then you escape, you fight, like, a big old mech that's gonna launch a nuclear missile on the U.S. or whatever.
Could you tell me how far you're making this?
Do you want booze?
Yes.
Alright. We're boozing it up, folks. So, you kill, like, it's called the Shagohod. It's basically the proto-Metal Gear. And it's gonna launch a nuclear missile on the U.S. It's dope. You take it down. By the way, the main villain can control lightning. I don't know why. I don't know if it's ever explained why he can control lightning. Also, he's like gay, I guess, or
also
bisexual.
He's scared of tree frogs.
He's weird, is the point. He's got scars all over his face. Also, there's a Russian, like, cowboy weeaboo who's a cat furry, and he is incredibly important to the entire series, but he meows a lot, is the point. And he uses revolvers, and his name is Revolver Ocelot, parentheses, Revolver Ocelot, close parentheses. It's more like Revolver, quotations, Revolver Ocelot, quotations, Ocelot, parentheses, Revolver Ocelot, close parentheses. The point is, his name is Revolver Ocelot, and that's incredibly important to know, because he's a cat furry who likes guns. And cowboy boots and all. It's great. And, okay, so basically some stuff happens. You take down the big nuclear thing. You kill the boss. You get to the end of the game. Okay, so in the game, there's this chick called Eva, and she's actually sent by China. If you remember the philosophers, it was made by the U.S., the Soviet Union, and China. The villain has the philosopher's legacy, which is basically a huge chunk of cash and shit that the philosophers left behind to control the world or whatever. And she's trying to get that. But she's like into Snake or whatever. She's trying to fuck Snake. Some shit, whatever. Anyway, so she's like playing both sides or whatever. She's technically she's like a triple agent, which is a thing that happens in Metal Gear a lot. It happens so fucking much in Metal Gear. I need more booze. We're one game in. So, anyway. So you get all the shit. Eva reveals that a conversation that she had with the boss reveals that she never betrayed anyone. She was always acting on orders of the United States. She died for her country. She wanted to create, in her speech, she mentioned that she wanted to create a country that was without borders.
A world without borders.
A world without borders where soldiers were like, soldiers fighting wars against each other was a thing of the past or whatever. Anyway, whatever. The end of the game comes. He's killed the boss. He goes back. The CIA's like, yo, you killed this lady. Good job. But he's like, fuck you, fuckers. You made me kill my mother figure. So he fucks off. And that's the end of Metal Gear Solid 3. Only it turns out Eva never got the Philosopher's Legacy. It ended up being obtained... Well, I think it still got obtained by Eva, but she defected from China. Anyway, the point is, all of the fuckers from Metal Gear Solid 3, like, when you pause or whatever, you have to access, like, the codec where you can call people, and you have, like, a support team. All of them formed together and formed this group called the Patriots. And the Patriots are like the Illuminati 2.0 of the philosophers. And so they're like, okay, we're gonna fulfill what the boss wanted of the world. The problem is Big Boss, who's Naked Snake, who's the character you play as Metal Gear Solid 3, and Zero, who's like the main leader of your mission for Metal Gear Solid 3.
Colonel Campbell for that game.
Yeah, he's like I don't know. Anyway, the point is, they have drastically different ideas on how to create a world without borders. For Big Boss, who's a professional, who's, a lifelong soldier, his idea is a world, soldiers that have borders, a nation-neutral army, essentially the first ever private military corporation.
You're going to say that word a lot.
You're going to say that word so fucking much. Meanwhile, Zero's like, a world without borders. That means totalitarian, one-world government. Let's do it. So he starts doing that. Also, Zero decides, Naked Snake, Big Boss, whatever. He's the greatest soldier to ever live. Let's clone him. Make Eva have his babies. The only problem is they try to make him have his babies, but it turns out that he's sterile because he spent too much time around Nuke. So what is there to do? So instead they clone him and they make 3 baby versions of him. And they are Solid Snake, Liquid Snake, and Solid as Snake. And he gets pissed that they made babies. And so he fucks off. Big Boss fucks off and he goes does this thing. And he does portable ops, which doesn't matter. It's technically canon and no one cares.
He goes off to Puerto Rico and meets random people.
Yeah. He meets this guy called Kazuhiro Miller, and he's building this organization called, Military Without Borders? Like Sans...
Military Sans Frontières.
Who gives a shit?
MSF.
It's Doctors Without Borders, but instead of doctors, it's soldiers.
Yes.
Imperialism without borders. The point is, that game happens, and some stuff happens. It's mostly fan service.
Hey. Do you know why Frank Yeager's called Frank Yeager?
Because... I don't know.
Because he hunts Franks.
Oh, God.
That's from Portable Ops, too.
Oh, God. It wasn't that great of a game. The point is, after that, Peace Walker happens. Peace Walker is a Metal Gear Solid remake of the movie Doctor Strangelove, or How I Learned to Stop Worrying and Love the Bomb. It is so much of a remake that one of the main characters is themselves named Doctor Strangelove. She's a lesbian. She's the best.
She's also the mom to Otacon.
Yes, she's the mother to the other best gay character in Metal Gear. So the point is, this game happens basically a group of people in Puerto Rico or something.
Costa Rica.
So there's this girl named Paz, and her name stands for peace. Miller, who is Big Boss's right-hand man, his first name, Kazuhiro, also means peace. They're like a thing. they're gonna take out Costa Rica again. You said
Yeah, it's Costa Rica.
Costa Rica. There's an actual real world conflict that happened there. It's been Metal Gearified.
Yeah,
they're gonna go take out some shit there.
Yeah, basically you work with the Sandinistas from Nicaragua to help get the CIA out of Costa Rica.
So basically, if you remember the plot to Doctor Strangelove, if you've ever seen it, if you haven't, go watch it. It's actually a really good black and white movie. It's like genuinely really good, and it still is like relevant today. But the point is, it's a good movie. No, the point is, basically they're developing like a weapons platform that is like perfect for whatever. What's it called? Mutually assured destruction. Can automatically determine targets who have been fired upon you and automatically fire back. There's no human element involved, so your enemies will always know if they attack you that you will return fire. And to do so, they're building a unique AI to manage all of that, and then they're also going to fire on Mother Base, which is Big Boss's Soldiers Without Borders, like area of operations in the middle of the ocean. I'm almost starting to run out of steam. We're only like 3 games in. Fucking you do some shit. It turns out that the AI is actually an AI reconstruction of the boss created by Dr. Strangelove because she is in love with the boss. Because lesbians, who wouldn't be in love with the boss? I mean, if you've played Metal Gear Solid 3, everyone's in lesbians with the boss. But more importantly, she wants to figure out what the boss's will means. What did the boss intend? Some shit happens. A whole bunch of shit happens. Big Boss, like, averts the end of the world via, averts...
He makes a call to the United States.
Prevents the United States from doing stuff. And then the boss, in the giant robot body, drowns the robot body and herself to prevent it from firing because she is so dedicated to peace. And that's the end of Metal Gear Solid. Except, if you replay a bunch of missions...
No, it's not replay, it's new missions.
AI cores. You can reconstruct, or you can construct your own Metal Gear. Because Big Boss is a fucking monster. And apparently having the first private military corporation wasn't enough. He also wanted a gigantic nuclear weapons platform.
To be fair... That's because Huey said, "Hey, I could make you a big robot."
Oh my god, I forgot about a Huey. Okay, so there's this fucking named Huey, and he's a paraplegic, which is fine. I'm a cripple, but fuck Huey. I'm not even fucking kidding. He's annoying and Peace Walker, and you're not even supposed to know what's going on. Oh, also in this game, you get child soldiers. Like, there's this guy named, Chico?
Chico?
And he's a child soldier, and you recruit him, and he is your child soldier. Big Boss keeps child soldiers.
Not really. He stays on base.
His label in the interface is child soldier. The point is... Okay, so anyway.
Don't forget the part where you fight Monster Hunter.
There's a level where you fight the Rathalos from Monster Hunter, and it's great. Anyway, once you do enough stuff, you build the Metal Gear. Then, this one guy who you found out that was, a double agent, he breaks out of prison. And you kill him, and he has, a robot arm, and that'll come up later. But basically, you take him out, and you take his robot arm, which has, a rocket attached to it. It's great. It's great. And then it turns out that Paz, who's, this little girl I mentioned at the beginning, her name means peace. She's actually a double agent working for Zero, who's founded an organization called Cypher, whose objective is the totalitarian one-world government thing. And she's going to steal his Metal Gear. And
it's also just Zero had a very bad breakup with Big Boss.
They are so gay for each other, and they hate each other. They are very bad exes. Everyone in Metal Gear is gay. The point is, so she's going to use... Anyway, you defeat her. She, fucks off into the ocean or whatever. I don't know. She's supposed to be, 12, but apparently she's, older than that. I don't know. Anyway, so shit happens. That's Peace Walker. Metal Gear Solid 5 Ground Zeroes. Stakes breaks into Guantanamo Bay. It's also the best Metal Gear Solid game. Not really the best, but it's the best out of the 2 Metal Gear Solid 5s because it actually has a point to make. Which is, Guantanamo Bay is bad. Which is milquetoast as fuck. But honestly, like, fuck it. It's got a point to make. Metal Gear Solid 5, The Phantom Pain, is aimless as fuck. It does not know what's going on. Anyway, so Ground Zeroes, you break in, you try to get Chico back. Chico went to go look for Paz because he heard Paz was trapped in this area, and he gets caught. There's a guy named Skullface, and his face is a skull. Kojima, thank you. Okay, so basically, Skullface is part of this organization called XOF. In Metal Gear Solid 3, you were part of an organization called Fox. Alright, it's like a subset, like a Spec Ops like section of the United States government. XOF is like the shadow op like counter to that. They go in and clean up Fox messes. This is again Kojima writing. The nega version of Fox is XOF. Their logo is literally the Fox logo, but mirrored. It's awful. It's amazing. I love it. Their leader is a guy with a face for a skull named Skullface. The point is, you go in, you break Chico out, you break Paz out, you get a helicopter, you get out of there. Only it turns out, Paz has got a bomb in her. So you get your doctor, you got a medic with you on the helicopter, you get him, he cuts open her very obvious surgical scars in her stomach, you pull the bomb out, you throw it out. Only it turns out, she regains consciousness and she reveals there's another bomb. And then she drops out of the helicopter and she explodes. Also, on the day that you're doing this op, Huey Emmerich has been orchestrating with the UN an inspection of Mother Base to ensure that they don't have nuclear weapons. They do! A lot! And they've sunk those to the bottom of the ocean temporarily, so the inspection goes well. But oh no, Mother Base gets attacked while the place is on low alert because the fucking UN's there. And the bomb explodes inside Paz and it causes everything to go to shit. The point is, the helicopter the big boss is in crashes and they go into a coma for 9 fucking years. Except that doesn't actually happen because you see Big Boss wakes up early, but his medic, who is also the most skilled soldier in his entire organization, is still in a coma and he took most of the shrapnel for him. And Big Boss and Revolver Ocelot, who's back, and also the most boring in this game. He's just the most boring guy. Like, Revolver Ocelot is the funnest character ever, except in Metal Gear Solid 5, The Phantom Pain.
At which point he's just a cowboy
so
who
boring.
tells you to be an...
He's just a cowboy.
What happened to the Russian cowboy?
What happened to the Russian cowboy? What happened to the furry?
To be fair, the furry stopped happening after the Metal Gear Solid 3.
Okay, but the point is, okay, so basically they decide, what if we took the medic, this medic fuck, and we were like, alright, let's brainwash him and make him think that he's Big Boss, so that the actual Big Boss can, like, go and do his plan secretly, while this fake Big Boss is doing all the stuff that people expect Big Boss to do. And they tell nobody. They don't even tell Kaz, who's, like, the best friend of Big Boss this entire time. It's fucked up.
Kaz is also kind of a double agent.
Metal Gear Solid 5, The Phantom Pain happens. I didn't finish it. All I know is, like, you do some stuff, you kill Skullface. Skullface's whole thing, he was, like, in Nicaragua or something, I don't know. The point is, where he grew up was the subject of imperialism. And as you'll find out with a lot of Metal Gear Solid villains, they're often pretty right. Like, they're often pretty correct. And his whole thing was America, or more Western culture, specifically the English-speaking Western culture, oftentimes is pretty fucking imperialist and destroys the cultures that it tramples over. And so his plan is to use a bunch of parasites that were how humanity evolved language in the first place to completely wipe the English language from existence. And that would essentially destroy one of the greatest, like, unifying forces of imperialism in the world. Which, is a great idea, dude. I'm all for it. But you defeat him, but you're only like halfway through the game, and then a bunch of other shit happens. I didn't finish the game because like 3/4 of the main story mission are filler, and then there's filler missions on top of that that are even more filler. But the point is, the big boss that you're playing is not Big Boss. It's okay. So this is take 2 of the second half of this shit. The phone ran out of memory, and we had to do some stuff. Okay, so basically, Metal Gear Solid 5. Big Boss isn't really Big Boss. There's a girl named Quiet. She's a sniper. He's actually the medic. He learns that he's that he's the medic and not the big boss, and he's like, whatever, I'll let Big Boss tell me what to do anyway, because he's like weird or whatever. Fucking. That's the end of That's the end of Big Boss's arc. The next up is the Metal Gear Solid 1 and 2 on the MSX, which are like really old computers, Okay, so Metal Gear Solid 1 for the MSX is like Big Boss is leading this organization called Foxhound. But he's not known as like the big boss that does all the terrorist stuff, right? And his primary right now, his main in charge thing is like, he's like, go shut down this terrorist organization known as Outer Heaven. Now he's in charge of Outer Heaven, but he doesn't want anyone to know that he's in charge of Outer Heaven. So he's been sending soldiers on suicide missions to Outer Heaven. The previous one to go on a suicide mission was this guy named Frank Yeager, and he dies. And then the next one is this guy named Dave Pliskin. His code name is Solid Snake. And if you remember, Solid Snake is actually a clone of Big Boss. Anyway, he sends Solid Snake in to go, and it's supposed to be a suicide mission, but through a series of fortunate misadventures, Solid Snake gets through all of Outer Heaven and encounters Big Boss, who's secretly a double agent, and he kills him. Except that the Big Boss he kills isn't the real Big Boss, it's the fake Big Boss, the medic from Metal Gear Solid 5. And that's that. Whatever. And then Metal Gear Solid 2 happens, it's basically the same thing. Except it's in this African country called Zanzibar land. I don't know why they didn't just call it Zanzibar. But anyway, he goes there, and he kills the real Big Boss. They're not particularly story-heavy games. Anyway, then Metal Gear Solid 1 happens. There's a whole bunch of opera. Solid Snake is scuba diving. He's in Alaska. Solid Snake has been hiding out in Alaska for a while because he hates the military. Because who wouldn't, honestly? So he gets inducted. Foxhound's like, all right, look, we need you to go in here because there's a group of a bunch of weirdos who are following Big Boss, and they want Big Boss's body, and they've got a hold of a Metal Gear. And Solid Snake is like, what the fuck? But I destroyed the Metal Gear back in Metal Gear, the game. So he goes in, there's stuff. He gets injected with nanomachines, which are supposed to keep track of him, but in secret, the nanomachine injections also contains a virus called Fox Dye, which can target and kill people based on their genetic code. He goes in, he's trying to solve the issue, he's trying to put a stop. The terrorists are led by a guy named Liquid Snake, which is Solid Snake's like brother via the cloning project of Big Boss. He kills a bunch of weirdos, and shit, it's a real simple game actually.
And Revolver Ocelot gets his hand shot off.
Revolver Ocelot gets his hand chopped off by a ninja, who's actually Frank Yeager, who was the suicide, or the previous dude who went in before you to Mother Base and Metal Gear 1. He's alive. He was alive as Metal Gear 2, but then he got involved in some shit. Anyway, he's a cyborg ninja now. You meet a guy named Hal Emmerich, who goes by the codename Otacon. He pisses his pants and then tells you his name is Otacon, which stands for Otaku Convention. Don't you know? He's an anime nerd. And he pissed his pants. And you're going to be gay with him for the next 3 games. So, Anyway, some shit happens. You meet a girl named Meryl, who's like Campbell's daughter. Campbell's the guy on like the phone that you talk to or whatever. Anyway, it turns out. Testing. Okay. So, yeah, Metal Gear Solid, what happens? Ocelot gets his arm chopped off. It turns out you're there on an assassination mission. You got the Fox Die virus in you. It's killing everybody in there. The United States is not supposed to be working on a Metal Gear because, nuclear war and all that stuff. And it could, be a big deal. Anyway, at the end of all of it, Liquid Snake dies to the Fox Die virus. And since he's a clone, your clone, or Solid Snake's clone, Solid Snake should die too, but he doesn't. And so there's like this, I'm just going to enjoy the time that I have left. Whatever. Metal Gear Solid 2 happens. Metal Gear Solid 2 is a fucking clusterfuck. And honestly, I'm so tired and drunk, it's hard to even explain how much of a clusterfuck it is. Okay, so you play as this guy named Raiden. Now, his name isn't actually Raiden. His name is Jack. He's a former child soldier from, like, Africa or something. I don't know, but he's white.
Liberia,
yeah. Okay, so he was rescued by a guy named George Sears. George Sears is also the president of the United States. Not at the time of Metal Gear Solid 2, but at the time of Metal Gear Solid 1. He's former president of the United States at the time of Metal Gear Solid 2. He is also the third son of Big Boss, Solid Snake. Anyway, so Raiden is part of Foxhound now. He's been going by the codename Solid Snake because it's a codename. But this oil tanker, or not this oil tanker, this oil rig, like it's like a oil scrubbing. It cleans like an ecological disaster or whatever. Oil spill. Is been taken over by a terrorist organization led by Solid Snake. And they're going to cause a major ecological disaster unless, like, they, like, kidnap the President of the United States. I don't even remember.
They've kidnapped the President of the United States.
So,
they are threatening to kill him if you don't give them nukes.
Yeah. So, it turns out... okay, so at the beginning of the game, actually, you play as Solid Snake, and you're infiltrating a tanker that has a Metal Gear on it. But then Revolver Ocelot shows up and shit goes down and you sink. And, like, Solid Snake is presumed dead. But then the beginning of Metal Gear Solid 2, Solid Snake is apparently leading this terrorist organization. But then while you're playing as Raiden, who's been changed from Solid Snake to Raiden to avoid confusion because the leader of the terrorists is going by Solid Snake, you meet Solid Snake. Not in, like, universe. Raiden doesn't know what Solid Snake looks like. But you see him and you go, oh, that's Solid Snake. Except he's going by the disguise, like, name Iroquois Pliskin. But it turns out that George Sears, former president of the United States, clone of Big Boss, brother to Solid Snake, Solidus Snake, is actually here not because he wants to kidnap the president specifically or he doesn't want nukes. It's because the oil rig is actually a covert a method of building a new Metal Gear named Arsenal Gear, which he hopes to wrest control from the United States in order to defeat the Patriots, which are an Illuminati organization created, if you remember, after Metal Gear Solid 3 by the character Zero as an evolution as with this organization Cypher. The Patriots are, at this point in time, not an actual group, but a AI collective. Because all the actual members of the Patriots, bar a few exceptions, are dead. I forgot. The end of Metal Gear Solid 5, or somewhere around that. Skullface, the guy whose face is a skull, infected Zero with a virus or whatever that causes him to go into a coma, which is why he does the AI thing, so that he can prevent, like, shit from going wrong while he's in a coma. That doesn't work. Anyway, nobody knows that the Patriots are anything other than a shadowy Illuminati cabal of people. And there's a whole bunch of subplots going on. Metal Gear Solid 2 is such a confusing game, but it's genuinely like a piece of fucking art, and you should go play it. But anyway, a whole bunch of weird bullshit goes on. Solid Snake uses cheat codes. Solid Snake uses an infinite ammo cheat code in the canon of the game, and no one comments on it. Anyway, it turns out that the entire thing is a simulation to create more Solid Snakes. It's Solid Snake simulation. Ocelot is there helping, like Revolver Ocelot. He is there helping the Metal Gears, or no, helping George Sears.
But actually,
see, he got his arm cut off at the beginning of, or in the middle of Metal Gear Solid 1. It is revealed that he has stitched on his arm the arm of Liquid Snake. And at the end, he takes control in the cockpit of a Metal Gear and reveals that he is Liquid Snake. But in actuality, that's contentious. But what I believe what was happened was that he hypnotized himself to believe that the ghost of Liquid Snake had possessed him through the grafted arm. Here's the thing. This makes total sense. In Metal Gear Solid 3, there's a character called the Sorrow who talks to fucking ghosts. And he is a ghost because he's dead by the time of Metal Gear Solid 3. He is Revolver Ocelot's dad. Revolver Ocelot's mom is also the boss. Like, the boss. It's great. So it makes total sense that he could be possessed by a ghost. Also, there's a psychic. I don't know if I mentioned, there's a guy named Psycho Mantis. He's in Metal Gear Solid 1, Metal Gear Solid 5. It really doesn't matter much. Honestly, it's surprising how little actually matters in the grand scheme of things. There's a lot of wacky bunch in there. Anyway, at the end of the game, Raiden kills the former president of the United States with a sword, while the president of the United States has a Dr. Octopus suit on. It's great. Then they pledge to go find the daughter of one of the main characters in the game, who's like this Russian operative. Her daughter's been kidnapped by the Patriots. They find a list of the Patriots, but all the members are dead. So what are they going to do? Then Metal Gear Solid 3 happens. We already talked about that. Metal Gear Solid 4 happens. Metal Gear Solid 4 takes place, like, not that long after, but sufficiently long enough that war has changed. So basically, post 9/11, like, by far, like, holy shit. Kojima's just coming out with all the stops, being like, oh, war on terror? You mean war on bear? Fucking. He doesn't like that shit. So Solid Snake is really old now because he's a clone and he's imperfect. He's aging super fast. But he's trying his fucking best because Revolver Ocelot now fully believes that he's the Liquid Snake. And he's started a resurgence of Outer Heaven, which is Big Boss's primary military corporation, except it's even less moral, which is somehow possible. This exists in a post-war where basically no military has its own military. They're all paying PMCs to fight their wars for them. It's tons of proxy wars fought with proxy armies.
And they say PMC like 2 million times over the course of the game.
It's actually a really good game. Like, it's a mess, but it's got, like, something to say. And that's really the best thing that you can say about Metal Gear, is that it has something to say pretty much almost every game.
I kind of want to check out a PMC supercut of Metal Gear Solid 4.
Oh, God, it would be like 30 minutes long. So, anyway, it turns out Liquid Ocelot is what he's being called, because he's Liquid Snake in Ocelot's body. Has developed this thing called
SOP?
There's this thing called Guns of the Patriots. Basically, every gun in the world has been ID tagged to the specific person who wields it, and can also be controlled by the giant AI collective that is now the Patriots. By the way, one of the Patriots was the Arsenal gear in Metal Gear Solid 2. That was a trip. But the point is,
I need scissors.
Guns are being completely controlled by the AI collective that controls the world. They want to keep the world in conflict to prevent their... I don't even know at this point. Like, somehow, this is like a warped, twisted version of Zero's warped and twisted version of the boss's will at this point.
I believe it's just generate profit forever. So, capitalism.
Something, yeah. So Solid Snake is going around trying to stop all this. Well, and shit happens. It's a convoluted game. But basically, they go around, they tie up a lot of loose ends. They find Eva from Metal Gear Solid 3, who's actually Solid Snake's mother. She explains some of the backstory, some of the stuff that's going on. She's been, whatever. She's still in love with Big Boss, even though he's dead. All sorts of stuff happens. Eventually, it gets revealed that Ocelot is trying to destroy the Patriots, which is a good thing. Because, again, a lot of villains in Metal Gear are right.
At least...
Also, he has a submarine that has Mount Rushmore, except instead of presidents, it has snakes on it. Like, not Snakes the animal, but, like, all the snakes. Like, so, you're...
Daddy, him, solid.
Yeah, it's fucking nuts, and I love it. Anyway, eventually, it turns... Okay, so... Solid Snake, who's like 90 right now in terms of like his biological age, not necessarily his actual age, because again, accelerated agency, aging.
He's supposed to be like 40.
He's old. Well, I mean, you've seen him. He's old. He's
No. I'm saying I think his actual age is supposed to be like 40 or something. I don't remember.
Anyway, him and Ocelot have been raising a girl named Summer? Sunny.
You can remember because she does the eggs.
Yeah, so she is the daughter of the Russian lady that you encounter in Metal Gear Solid 2, who asked you to find her daughter who was being held by the Patriots, which is why she was forced to do the things that she did in Metal Gear Solid 2. She's also a super talented hacker because she hasn't been allowed outside. Her and a character from Metal Gear Solid 1, Naomi, develop a virus to destroy the Patriots, and together with the infrastructure that Liquid Ocelot has built, they destroy the Patriots. They upload a virus and it destroys them, and the world is free from the Patriots' AI tyranny, controlling every little thing in the world.
And then Ocelot wanted just pure anarchy, which would be good, but Sunny stopped it so that at least the basic infrastructure of the world isn't destroyed.
Yeah, so it's basically like there's still, like, infrastructure. There's still ways for people to connect and to be connected and to build a society out of the ashes. But then you and Liquid Ocelot have a fight, and then the music from Metal Gear Solid 3 plays, and then Ocelot reveals that he's been faking it the whole time. Because he's amazing. He's just so good. Ocelot is so good.
He's the best character in all of Metal Gear.
Anyway, so then you do that, and then canonically, and no one can take this from me. Okay, no, not really. At the end of the game, everybody's pretty happy. Like, the world still sucks. But it's not being ruled over by AI Illuminati anymore. What's his name? Solid Snake has been told through the course of the game that he still has the Fox Die virus from Metal Gear Solid 1 in him. And because it's been in his body so long, it has mutated to the point where soon it may mutate to the point where it will kill everybody. Like, in terms of like a worldwide apocalypse scenario. Where it'll activate on anyone's genetic code.
He's a time bomb plague.
So, he goes to a graveyard where the boss is buried,
and where Frank Yeager's buried.
Yeah, to kill himself with a gun, and he sticks a gun in his mouth. That is really sad. And then the boss, like Big Boss, shows up, who should be dead, but apparently Eva rebuilt him with the parts of Liquid Snake and Solidus Snake, and his
robot
original
parts,
corpse, and robot parts, and Nanomachine's son. And they have a conversation, but then Big Boss starts dying from
the Fox Die
virus. He kills Zero, who's been on life support this entire time in his coma, and reveals that both of them completely got the boss's will wrong, and the only person to ever really get the boss's will correct is Solid Snake, a man who has never met the boss or even heard of her.
Let's also mention the thing about the new fox dye we injected into you is actually killing the old fox dye, so you're fine.
Yes. So he has a couple of years left before he dies of old age, and he should enjoy it how he will. And it's a touching scene between Big Boss and Solid Snake. It's total fan service, but I'll eat that shit up all day, son. Anyway, that's the end of the game. The original ending was actually Kojima wanted to have them both executed for their crimes because they're technically war criminals because they were painted as such by the Patriots, and nobody would have ever known about the.
Well,
good that
that was a super early draft. That was back before Snake was old.
I don't care because it's a really good idea for an ending.
Honestly. It is a really good idea for an ending.
Okay, so anyway, the game ends, and it's like Solid Snake's gonna die in a few years, but maybe things will be all right, right? And that's the end of the series. Then there's Metal Gear Solid Rising Revengeance, or Metal Gear Rising Revengeance, which is centered around Raiden, who's a badass now, and there's heavy metal music, and really.
In Metal Gear Solid 4, he gets turned into a cyborg ninja.
He gets turned into a cyborg ninja, that's great.
And so you get to play him as a cyborg ninja, where he decides to destroy a senator who's planning a terrorism.
There's a senator who says he's going to make America great again, and you slice him till he dies. I don't care. Buy the game right fucking now. Metal Gear Rising Revengeance, you will never regret it. It crashes every time I try to put it on full screen on my computer. I don't care.
You get to kill a libertarian.
You get to kill a libertarian senator who wants to make America great again. It's good. That's what I'm saying.
Who thinks Somalia is the greatest idea of government?
Oh, God. Okay, anyway. So that's Metal Gear. So basically, there was a bunch of snakes, and they did some stuff. And that's the Metal Gear. And thank you. I'm going to sleep now.